What's up? Okay, so Pame Pics says, I want to film with my Canon 5D Mark III. I've seen many people using Sigma instead of the Canon lens series. Why is that? And what is a good light to use? So Sigma, a while ago, Sigma, they weren't really making that great quality lenses, but then they came out with their Art series lenses, and those really changed a ton. We got to use the 50 series, or the 50mm Art lenses, and it was super sharp, and it was great. So I would totally recommend it, although sometimes you don't necessarily want the sharpest thing. Now I know, personally, I'm pretty technical, and I like aiming for just having the best and making it the crispest and having sharper images. But what I've found as time's gone on is that you're not necessarily going to get a better feeling image with higher sharpness. You may get more clarity, just your eyes kind of bug out of your head and you're, wow, I can see everything. But you might not get that, whatever that feeling is when you have an image that kind of makes you feel warm and fuzzy inside, I guess. So in that instance, Canon 1.2, that L series lens, is really amazing, and the bokeh is not matched by the Sigma lens, but the Sigma lens is still very, very good. And if we actually still have the Canon 1.4, so the build quality, it's kind of like in the middle. It's not the lowest, but it's kind of like the middle build quality. I think it's fine. My wife doesn't really like it at all, but the 1.2 is, the build quality's great as far as the image quality. But then the Canon has focusing issues, or at least it has had focusing issues in the past. So I think that also, just the price of the Canon L series alone is hard and driving people towards Sigma. And then when people realize that this is a great lens, then it has its own reputation now, and it's well regarded. So I would definitely look into some Sigma lenses, especially Sigma Art lenses. And then as far as your other question, what light to use, I'm not sure whether you're talking about video or photography, but since I'm focusing on photography, I'm going to answer that way. So we use Yongnuo flashes, and we started with a Canon flash, and it was just expensive. I think it was $200 or $300 for this one flash, which is kind of the going rate for Canon and Nikon flashes. And I found some Yongnuo flashes for, I think, maybe $60 or $70. And so I was thinking, shoot, like I could literally trade this one flash in and get four new flashes. And so it seemed to me like okay, I don't really know Yongnuo as well, but if they're so bad that I'm gonna go through 4 flashes in the same time that that I would be using my one Canon flash, and not to even bring up the idea of shooting at a wedding where sometimes people are dancing and jostling all over, and the light stand might get tipped over, or it might come loose and fall down. So in that case, if you got one flash that's worth $300, you just go shoot, it's broken. But with these cheaper Yongnuo flashes, there's way less pressure there, and the build qualities have been pretty good. There's one of them that kind of went weird, but again, when it goes weird, it's not this like, oh my gosh, this is my only flash, like I need, like, it wasn't like that. It was like, well, I got a few more of these in my bag, so let me just pick up another one. So I wasn't expecting that I was going to get the build quality of the Canon by spending a fifth of the price, but it's also a great flash, and I didn't need any of the automatic computery thought of a flash. Sometimes flashes will have that logic inside them to help you get a better image, and sometimes you'll want to pay for that automatic connection with your camera to really get the shots you want. But we don't work like that. We work in manual, and so we set everything ourselves. So it's fine for me to just walk up to the flash and turn it up or down, and once I've got it dialed in anyway, I don't really touch it. It's pretty much up one stop or down one stop. And I can also change settings on my camera if I need need any wiggle room during a reception. But essentially, it's more about how you use it. It's more about how you understand light and what you do with the flash. Because if you take a $500 flash and you put it right on your camera, you're taking a picture. The flash is here and your lens is here. The light is in the same place as where you're taking your picture. You're not going to get a good quality image because you're going to get that deer in the headlights look. Part of what makes an image beautiful is light coming from the side and creating shadow and creating depth. That's how we see depth. We see shadow. and shadow is created when you know, wherever you're viewing from, the light source is in a different place. We've all, you know, put the flashlight underneath our chin and it casts that shadow up. The reason why it looks creepy is because that light underneath you is creating shadow on your face, and you can use that all sorts of different ways. If you have if you just take a flashlight or you take a light and you just point at yourself, you know, pull out your cell phone, turn on your flashlight, and go into a dark bathroom and just, you know, look at yourself in the mirror and put that light all over the place and just watch as your face changes. You can see, you know, the shadow for your nose first over here, and then it pops over here, or it pops down depending on wherever you put your light. There are better places to put your light, and there's worse places to put your light, and that is I mean, mainly up to you. If you like how it looks, but you can also study that stuff. There's you know, there's certain things to study. If you want to study certain types of lighting scenarios, you know, there's these setups where you can copy, you know, the styles of how other people have lit stuff. But at the very beginning, just start by looking at yourself in the mirror and using this light and just seeing how light falls across the face when you're with your clients in the middle of a field or on the side of a building. Look at their face. Look at how their nose, especially their nose, because that's the biggest thing popping out of their face. See how that shadow falls on their face, and especially look in the eye sockets. If you have top-down light, then this brow bone is going to create shadow over the eye. So they'll have these dark raccoon eyes, just black areas where their eye should be popping. It just looks like this black hole. That's horrible to work with. It's so hard to work with. It's so much better for you to set it up right so that you don't have to try to edit your way out of it later. And if you understand light, if you really understand how to place your light, and not only even how to place it, you know, getting it off camera, off to the side, but also making it bigger, getting the size of the flash, instead of being this big, you know, you shoot it into an umbrella, you shoot it into a softbox, you make it, that light source, bigger, and then all of a sudden the shadows that are created are they're more gradual. It's not this hard cookie cutter shadow that you might see when you're outside at noon and the sun is beating down and you can literally look and see your shadow on the ground. Actually, probably a better example is sunset, when you can see, you know, you're walking down your driveway and you can see the whole outline of your body going 20 feet that way because the light's behind you and it's kind of spreading your shadow out. You can cut that shadow out with scissors. It's so clear. That is an example of having a tiny light source. That sun, obviously the sun is so big, but it's so far away that it's just this tiny point in the sky. So it essentially counts as a small light source, and that small light source will create those crisp shadows. So if you make your light source bigger, then all of a sudden, instead of that shadow being crisp, it starts to feather a little bit, and it starts to be more gradual from dark to light. And that idea of creating a more gradual shadow versus that cookie cutter shadow is part of what is in your toolkit now for understanding, okay, this is what I want. Or you can start, you know, seeing that crisp shadow and you go, hold on, that crisp shadow means that my light source is too small. Now if you like it, great, you're done. But typically having that crisp shadow doesn't look quite as nice or quite as professional as having a bigger light source, which will then give you that gradual light change. So all that said, don't be dragged into the idea of what brand I need to buy or whatever else. It's more about how you use your light.